Today's webinar is presented by Maria Zahir, the founder of Educational Webinar Jam. She is a highly skilled teacher trainer with extensive knowledge of the latest and most effective teaching methodologies. She holds a fellowship in higher education and master's in TESOL and applied linguistics from the UK, with additional qualifications of Cert TESOL and PTLLS. She has worked in esteemed institutions and received multiple recognition awards for her research in teaching methods and development workshops, which have proven to be both creatively innovative and also the best practices for an ever-changing generation of students. Welcome, Miss Maria. The floor is all yours.
Hello. Thank you for the kind introduction. Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Thank you so much. So my today's talk is about digital literacy in the 21st century, connecting the dots. This is something I've been attending different professional development platforms, and after the post-pandemic, all of us are facing these issues as teachers and educators, where the digital literacy was lacking in our emergency teaching, and online distance learning became an issue for us. So what to expect for today's webinar? A common scenario today is a classroom filled with digital literate students being led by leaner thinking, technology-stymied teachers. This presentation will give some practical applications that will help eradicate this phenomenon. So by the end of this webinar, hopefully the audience will get enlightened by why and what of digital literacy, followed by some paradigm shift of use of digital literacy in 21st century, and some integration of 21st century EdTag tools in a classroom that has proven to be very motivating and encouraging for my students, and they were highly engaged in these activities. Right, so before I start with my webinar, I would like the audience to connect with me with a quick poll. And by doing so, if you go to pollev.com and enter Maria Zahir 806, you'll be able to answer to the question of this poll. Or you can scan this QR code that will do the similar purpose for you. So I will give 30 seconds for the audience to scan this code or go to pollev.com and enter Maria Zahir 806 to reply to this quick poll. So my question is to you, what is digital literacy? Share your thoughts in one word. What do you understand is digital literacy? So here are the instructions again. Go to pollev.com and enter Maria Zahir 806 to respond to this activity, please.
We have also posted the link in the chat box that everyone can just click and go to the poll too.
Thank you. So just one word, share your thoughts. What is digital literacy to you? Tech savvy, nice, cool. What else is digital literacy to you? Computers, okay. Laptops, yes, okay. Updated technologies, I guess. Digital tools. Interesting input. Another 10 seconds, then I will share my thoughts. So new technology is the word that's becoming larger and larger. That's the most preferred response, I guess, from all of you. Creativity, well done, excellent, yes. Digital tools, laptops, knowledge, updated knowledge, excellent, well done, yes. Innovation, yes, it is. Great, thank you so much. EdTech, yes, it is EdTech as well. Well, thank you so much for your responses. So here is what digital literacy, so you came up with creativity. Yes, it is being creative. Critical thinking and evaluation is the key or the basis of digital literacy. Cultural and social understanding is very important for digital literacy. There are so many resources and so many edtech tools online, but we have to also consider the cultural and social understanding of that digital tool or that digital knowledge to be incorporated in our classrooms. Collaboration, the biggest and most important element of digital literacy that helps to collaborate not only with the students, also with the colleagues. It's very easy, very user friendly. The ability to find and select information. If we need any information, taking from the location to a particular place, to an information, to more complex ideas about education, we go straight to Google, and the ability to find information is becoming easier and easier. So that is digital literacy itself. Effective communication, like we are communicating at this time, with just a click of a link, we are connected with all our attendees all across the globe from different countries joining us today at one platform and getting enlightened by this webinar. E-safety is also something that has become very critical these days when hackers or people join in without any particular safety. So we have to keep those things in mind. Functional skills, you might attend numerous webinars, but there comes a point where you really understand how functionally it can be applied to your classrooms. So it's not about understanding, okay, I know a number of EdTech tools, and that's all I need to know to be a good teacher or to be a 21st century teacher. Do I have all these skills combined together to understand the effectiveness of that digital literacy? So I have expanded this thought, taking from Derek 2015, that the digital literacy can be under these three components: the foundational knowledge, conceptual understanding, and procedural fluency. So, what is the foundation knowledge? That's where the digital proficiency, I demonstrate the skills using digital technologies. If I know how to use a laptop, I know how to use internet, I'm able to put a link on my LMS, so to speak. Okay, I have that knowledge. Then do I have the application understanding of that conceptual understanding that is required to be digitally literate? Can I apply these skills effectively the ways that demonstrate understanding of what it means to be digital and thinking digitally? So we can, as teachers, I'm sure, understand, we plan and get over enthusiastic of using digital tools in our classroom, edtech tools in our classroom. But do we understand that it meet the outcomes or the learning outcomes? Did we, the application was correct or not? Was it planned according to our learners' learning abilities, or it was just too much effort and no effective outcome of it? The most important thing is digital fluency for me. Am I a digital citizen? Is my digital behavior respectful for others? And do I demonstrate these technical, social skills to enable me to be successful and safe in a digital world? Digital fluency as a digital citizen means Do you understand that these tools, or we hear lots of teachers using social media as part of their teaching tool, but we have seen there's lots of things that are not culturally appropriate at certain scenarios are still used and recycled in teachers. So the three-step knowledge, understanding, and wisdom by analyzing and evaluation of that edtech tool or any digital fluency is very important as educators. So fluency is broader than literacy. I would like to share this thought with Resnick's 2002. In the years ahead, digital fluency will become a prerequisite of obtaining jobs, participating meaningful in society and learning throughout a lifetime. It was long ago in 2002, we can say a decade ago, when Resnick said that in his article. But can you imagine? It has become a prerequisite not only for obtaining jobs in every element of our life. We have become so much dependent on digital tools, on smartphones, on smart navigation applications just to take us from point one and point two. So it has become a meaningful element in our society, and learning throughout a lifetime is very important for anybody, even educator or not. Every day, new edtech tools or new digital literate platforms resonate, and they start as a new platform for us to discover. So it's a lifelong commitment. We cannot say I have a bunch of digital tools under my belt and that's all I need to do. It becomes a monotony over time, and you know how fast from even simple phones every year a model comes up, a new element comes up with smarter and more effective tools to use in that smartphone or a smart device. So why don't we think in the same perspective as a digital application in our classrooms, when these things also change that fast, and it changes the monotony in our classroom as well. So the handful of tools that you have learned good 5 years ago or 6 years ago, reflecting on them, has that become a repetition in my classroom? Do I really need to change it? Of course, yes. Because I don't know, I myself as a teacher, I look for new venues, for new opportunities to introduce in my classroom. Even a simple tool that bring a change or think out of the box for my classroom routine is very important for me. So fluency is better for me than being a digital literate. So the challenge today is the greatest challenge, us moving beyond the glitz and pizzazz of flashy technology and teaching true literacy in the new milieu. There are lots of people who keep on suggesting, okay, do this, do that, do that, but do they really suggest the application and and share with us the really fruitful outcomes that we achieve through using that digital literacy in the classrooms? So it's again going back to the three components that I showed you earlier. It's not about just the knowledge, it's about the understanding and the application in the classroom, followed by the analysis and evaluation of how effective the introduction of that digital tool in my classroom was. Right, so the five benefits of tech ed in the classroom is technology, the field of education, is become a powerful tool. It is future oriented. The future is all about technology and multi screening, especially after COVID. The post pandemic educational arena has transformed very fast, and we had to adapt as educators very quickly to the tools that keep our students not only connected to us as in distance learning, and also make them motivated in a classroom. Learning becomes interesting. It only becomes interesting when you engage the learners and challenge the students to a brand new interactive methods. If you have been doing the same edtech tools for a couple of years, it becomes monotonous. And you say, oh no, not again, or not that same tool again. That means these moanings or these reactions from these learners or students are showing that you need to break the routine. You need to come up with things that are different and new in the educational edtech tools. Improve your skills. Improving skills not as just the student side but also as us as educators and learners. Digital learning, the digital citizenship is only come into being when you are able to use it effectively with your colleagues as well. You're able to collaborate effectively. Just a simple quiz that can be done with the other fellow colleagues can be shared on Google Docs, and we can edit and communicate effectively, not even sitting in the same classroom. Hasn't that become easy for us? Planning, listening, mobile learning. There are lots of tools that are also in the as form of apps on our phones that students can download and use it on the move. Self-directed learning is also promoted through this digital technology in education. When students can go back and address the lessons that you have taught earlier as a recorded lesson or as an application or an edtech tool like Quizlet, when it is self-directed learning, lots of books or curriculums also have a technology element to it that promotes self-direction and self-directed learning among the students. Global awareness. Global awareness is something that is very important because every part of world has something different to give us. There's something else that we can pick and nitpick from each other and learn from each other. So presentations has also become very interesting, using Prezi, using Google Slides, using lots of other elements that has made our presentations even better than before. Increasing collaboration, I cannot stress more on this. Students can work and collaborate with people in other locations as well. Especially when we were at distance learners, we used to join online communities, not just to attend a lesson, but also things like Padlet, things like Jamboard of Google helped us to engage and collaborate at the same time, whereas we as teachers were able to connect with them and give them feedback simultaneously. So reduces weight in a way that students are now going through classes where in a hybrid mode or hyper mode or even as a distance learning or online learning where they are just taking up iPad or a laptop or even just their smart devices or phones to a classroom without any books. So I myself is teaching students on LMS. I am paper free these days. It's helping the environment thanks to pandemic that we are teaching paper free. We have their activities online. We have resources on LMS put up, links for different external tools when these are also becoming a part of very important element in our environment. Right, so you may say, okay, I get this, but how can I incorporate this in my classroom? How can I use it as a lesson and at what parts? So when I say engage, you can engage students with an image, meme, quote, video clip, thinking prompt, or any other interesting media bite. We have been somehow cooperating this also in our face-to-face teaching before the pandemic, and it has become more important and relevant part of a lesson nowadays when we had to go online and still continue to do so on some parts of the world. So students can also explore different things, provide some content for students to explore and dig into. This might be to a preview of a new unit, sneak peek into some interesting topic, or just sparking curiosity. So the engagement and exploration, it's again very student centered, very learner centered. It reduces teacher talking time, and the engagement and collaboration starts from the very first minute of the lesson. Falling on to the explain part, that's for me is the third stage of the lesson when the background knowledge is tapped in by the engagement and exploration part of the lesson. And now we as teachers, now we teach the direct instruction lesson. Learning object is shared with students, and often serves as a lesson focus. And that's the stage when, again, the lesson is back to the learners, back to the students, when they elaborate on the content they just received or the input they just received from their teacher, including extension activities or provide links to resources or even further study on a topic that often motivates learners. It gives them charge of their learning. Again, their cognitive ability is more, critical thinking ability is enhanced, and they connect and collaborate to elaborate on the same lesson the teacher gave in as a collaborative lesson online. So, because they are engaged and exploring from the very first minute of the lesson, they will be continuously involved and active. So, the active listening takes place, active involvement takes place. Engagement and motivation was something that always lacks in the classroom, is always there. Every minute of the lesson is utilized for the betterment of learning. So evaluate is, we as teachers always wish to evaluate how effective our lesson was, how effective it was to engage our students. So invite students to reflect on their learning again. So why do we need to ask, okay, what did you learn today? What was happening? What was more effective? Let them use their metacognitive skills. Help them ensure that the learning sticks. And how is that? So something that I have incorporate in my classrooms, when I ask my students to create an infographic about the lesson, what they have learned today. So to really understand that the learning or the input or from the engagement to evaluation part, did all stage was addressed as I wanted it to be. So something that teachers have been using a lot is an exit ticket or a KWL chart that starts from the beginning of the lesson till the end. But something new as creating, give them a quick infographic to create of the key elements that they have learned. So they're just highlighting the key points that they have done. So it's no very thick text, they're drawing or being very creative. So remember when I showed you what is digital literacy, collaboration, creativity, engagement, getting them to explore, and yet we as educators can evaluate how effective our lesson was. Right, so before I move on, I would like to pose this question to you. So how do you as educators use digital literacy in your classroom? Before I show you some of my examples what digital literacy is for me, you can reply in the chat box, and I will request the moderator to read it out for me, please. How have you been using these 5 stages in your lesson? How have you been engaging and exploring this topic in your classroom?
Just waiting for some responses.
Okay, thank you.
We have a response from Yusuf. He says via critical thinking skills. Kathy has replied through online educational games/competitions.
Interesting. Yes, that sparks motivation straight away. Engagement is there. Well done, Kathy. So how do you evaluate your lesson engagement? How do you evaluate how things are? Even Padlet is a very good way, or Jamboard of Google is a very effective way to use, evaluate. Just pose a question or two there.
Yes, we've received some responses from Rabha. She's saying using some digital tools like quizzes and Kahoot. And Miss Maha is also saying via quizzes.
Excellent. That's excellent. Thank you so much for your responses. So, I am going to now share with you some of the examples of what I think was very effective. It was collaborative and filled with digital literacy. So, this is something a brand new concept that I used in my classrooms. It's called Think Link. So, what is ThinkLink? It's an interactive tool that provides users with the ability to turn an image into multimedia launcher. I will show you an example soon after this slide. It's for education. There are so many resources that are pre-made and that can be recycled. It can be used as an app. You can create your own ThinkLink from the scratch, and it is a complete package. You don't have to create a couple of slides as a PowerPoint. Instead, this is a very creative and modern way to create a lesson when everything can be done on one image itself. So when I say, what is it? This is an image with a complete lesson. Believe me, yes, it is. How? Can you see the hotspots? Each hotspot has been connected with an external link that is used by my students as self-directed learning. So I engage them and let them explore and go through the content individually by themselves. So each thing, important places in my neighborhood has, if they click on it, with my instructions are led on the LMS separately, has a YouTube where they click on this link, watch this YouTube, and they understand what are the important places in the neighborhood. Followed by, I will direct them to the next door, which again has a hotspot that is blinking. That means it has an active link in it. They will click on it, and there they have a word search related to places in my neighborhood. So, live worksheets is something very interesting, very interactive, and motivating for students to learn, and it gives instant feedback. For me, feedback is very important because it's like delayed feedback is just a justice denied to the learners. It is very important that they get the feedback right away of what they had just learned. Then directing them to the next door, which again takes them to a website where they have to go and engage and talk about their experience, what they had just learned. And at the end, I again gave in a worksheet that took me as an evaluation stage where I could understand from engagement to the evaluation part how effective was my lesson. Was it really, did the learning really stick with the learners or not? So you can see how colorful it is. I wanted to show an example from the K-12 and even higher education. So I know our educators are joining from all levels of education. So you can see for young learners how colorful this image is with lots of interaction there, lots of engagement there from the students. Right. So this is the kind of instruction I would give, explaining it more depending um, on the level of my students, the age of my students. I called it a pick a door, a collaborative. It's a lesson plan which involves lots of engagement and collaboration. Which door would you pick? Click the image above to view this think link. So this is again, I link this image or a think link when my students will click on it and go to this lesson itself. So it depends what you want your students to discover behind the doors, what subject you are teaching, what stage of the lesson you want this tinkling to be used. Do you want it to be at the beginning as a warmer? Do you want to really assess what your students really know before? Because you are one of those teachers who would not like to give lots of input and want to just assess what their prior knowledge is about the topic. You can use the same concept at the end of the lesson when you want to really evaluate and understand what you really gave and what they really understood. followed by my absolute favorite is Hyperdocs. I have also done lots of trainings and webinars about Hyperdocs. And ThinkLink is kind of a Hyperdoc as well with hyperlinks. So Hyperdoc transforms your teaching and empower your students, something that is very important for me as an educator. When I want some kind of transformation or change in in my teaching from time to time, and it empowers the students, they take charge of their own learning. So design engaging lessons, curated content that you can create and connect to it as you like it. Target learning goals, easily differentiated. Show what you know as a self reflection and celebrate the process. Create a digital learning experience, integrate technology, 21st century teaching and learning skills in your classroom. And the four key things that keeps on coming up related to digital learning and literacy is engagement, understanding, collaboration, and critical thinking. And the most important part of every lesson is the real-time feedback. These links, that educational tools that we monitor students' progress, provide real-time feedback, and scaffold learning. For me, role as a teacher in a classroom is to scaffold learning, not to spoon feed them whatever I am teaching. So it's more about students' voice, students' choice, and authentic learning. So what are these hyperdocs? So here, it is a digital document with hyperlinks curated by a teacher. It can be as tech savvy as possible, it as complex or as simple as you like. So this is a simple example. If you can see on your screens at the moment, you can once create this template, and if you see this blue links are the links that you insert to different sources that can be on your G Drive or your Google Classroom or any other LMS tool that you're using, and also external tools when you can connect them to Quizlet, Kahoot, Padlet, or whatsoever YouTube links that can be attached in just this one document. So it may look very complex, but once you get the hang of it, it's very easy. We do put these links anyways in our PowerPoint slides, don't we? So in the same way, we are inserting these links and creating a hyperdoc for our students to go and engage themselves from start to the process, like this writing process. We do go through this process with the students, but here we want them to navigate themselves through this board game, and each picture here is connected with a hyperlink that students go and engage themselves and click on and response to the questions and tasks you have set up. So once you have created, you can recycle it. The template is created. You can recycle the content to any level or any topic you wish to teach. Another very interesting and very effective and involves higher level of engagement is EdPuzzle. We all use contents like TED Talks or YouTubes or Khan Academy or National Geographic, somehow or the other in our classroom. But this EdPuzzle, we create questions around it ourselves. But here it is a complete package. It has multiple resources available that are pre-made by teachers and shared publicly for us to recycle. We can use the same content and curate it according to our curriculum, or it matches somehow or the other to the curriculum you are teaching. You can edit the content there, built-in assessment, and most importantly, it is shareable. You can just share a link to the LMS, and again, you can see the students' progress. Something that we need to know is not just putting a link in there. We have to track the learning of our educators as students as well. So this is a very effective tool for digital literacy. So this is what it looks like. This is a typical EdTech lesson that was created by Kristen that I used. It was about informative writing. It had facts and details and what students need to know. So what happened is, instead of creating a PowerPoint above informative writing, I use this EdTag as a warmer or as an introduction to my topic. So as students progress through this video, so these dots represent the point where these multiple choice questions show up. So unless you can restrict your students to answer these questions before they move on. So it can become as a formative assessment for you, as a diagnostic assessment of that lesson for your students in your classroom. And you can also use it as a summative assessment at the end of the lesson. So again, it's a very open option for us to use at what stage of the lesson we can use it. So this dot means at the time the video reaches to this is first point, that means a 0.25 seconds that the first multiple choice question will pop up. And unless until the students answer this question, they won't be able to progress to the rest of the lesson. So it is very effective, very engaging. Students are engaged from the very first minute because they know they have to end this video by watching and answering all questions. And collaboration takes place if you let them watch in pairs and let them answer the questions collectively as peers. Right, this is something very effective and very engaging, and something that really represents 21st century skills, not only for students, but also as we as educators. Because when we went to distance teaching and online learning, some of us had to record our lectures and accord with our PowerPoints and had to post it on our learning management systems. So Pedagogy is a most effective and engaging way when teachers and educators and also students can show their presentations by recording it. So there were 20 images in 20 seconds. So you are conveying your lesson in 6 minutes, 30 seconds. We sometimes, keep on repeating what we need to teach. We keep on lingering on one point, and by the end, we quickly rush up to cover up this topic. So this was the most effective way to restrict our teacher talking, giving effective content at 20 seconds per slide and covering the whole lesson. So I think I would suggest all the attendees who are here today to explore this. So I will show you a sample of one of my students. So this was something I will play and then stop at a point and talk to you about it.
Saving lives, traveling in time, and so much fun. Hello everyone, my name is Bushra. Me and my colleague Hanan will talk about the future of education with virtual reality. Also, the reasons why virtual reality is the future of education. So, before we start, we need to know, what does VR mean?
So here's an example when I gave it to my students to create a pedagogy about future in education. And they were asked to do it in 20 seconds per slide, 6 minutes, 40 seconds for the whole presentation. So this enhanced their digital literacy. They got to know how PowerPoint everybody knows, but how effectively they can present in a short time with keeping in focus the content and information they require to present in that topic. So we as educators also can similarly record our lectures effectively using the same PowerPoint that we're used to teaching, with just a fix an automation time of 20 seconds per slide and rehearse our lesson accordingly. Finally, again, something very interactive and very digital literate is digital storytelling. It combines the oral tradition of storytelling with visual and sound capacities of digital media. This is again something I was teaching narrative writing to my students. So instead of letting them write the whole narrative story, they were able to create a digital story of their own. And again, It promoted digital literacy in my classroom. There was collaboration, they were engaged. And the very moment I introduced this topic, I could see motivation in my classroom. They were excited to explore something new. We all know this is the 21st century, and they all would love to use these new tools. They already know. You'll be surprised if you ask your students to give suggestions of any digital tools they use. They know more than us. They are the new generation, and they can also come up very creative and interesting ideas as learners in the classroom. So this is again something very interesting that my students did. Showing you an example again. This was I changed it into a whole competition, collaborated with other teachers and colleagues who were teaching the same narrative writing in their classrooms. We had a big digital story competition at a department, and this was the first prize winner. If you can see, these students drew every scene in this digital story. Due to the cultural aspects at this part of the world where I teach, they were not supposed to show their own faces or pictures. Hence, they were able to record their voices with this digital story. So they were allowed to rewrite the script of the story they already know, or create one of their own. So these were one of the criteria. So these was the most creative. I will just play for a short while for you to understand how it looks at and how it sounds like.
On a cold, dark day, a poor young girl tries to sell matches in the street. She's already shivering from cold and early hypothermia. She's walking barefoot, having lost her shoes. She tries her best to sell the matches. Cheap matches.
So you can see how creative the students were. The scenes were very effective. They used digital tools to give the effect of the snowfall, and the voices changed as the character in the stories changed. So it was intrinsically and intrinsically motivation as well, and extrinsically motivated by they received a prize and a certificate for the achievement. So again, we are promoting digital literacy that are for the 21st century learners, not only as educators, but also promoting it among our students as well. So why should digital literacy be part of teaching and learning? It promotes autonomous learning, self-directed learning, intrinsic motivation, and thinking beyond 21st century. It is now, world is moving very fast, with every day something new and something creative and something very effective for our learners is coming around us. So we as educators should take part in every opportunity that comes along to learn about digital tools that creates motivation and effectively promotes digital literacy beyond 21st century skill. Right, so my question again to you is, are you inspired of what I've just shared with you? So again, my instructions are here. If you please go to poll EB or the link that was shared earlier, I request the moderator to share it again, please. And let me know, are you inspired of what I have just shared with you? Would you love to use these ideas in your classroom? Do you think they are lifesavers? Or do you think it's too much of an effort, or none of the above? Oh, great. You think it's a lifesaver. Interesting. Okay, so most of you think you would love to use these ideas in the classroom. You think it's a lifesaver as well. Great. Another 20 seconds. I will leave the input to continue. I'm glad that you would like to explore these ideas in your classroom. So 83% of you would like to use these ideas in the classroom. That means you're inspired. Great. Another 5 seconds before I close this poll. So we have reached to more agreeing to the fact that you will love to use it in your classrooms and it's a lifesaver. And thank you for not selecting. It's too much of an effort because I think digital literacy does require an effort. So it's an initial effort, what I believe, but with time, when you master it, it becomes a smooth run. Great. Thank you so much for your input. Really appreciate your input. So just remember, because you desire something doesn't mean you're ready for it. Your readiness depends on the amount of time that you ready to give to what you desire. So digital literacy is a mindset. Practicality is there, active learning, lots of inspiration around us that we need to get in it, and engagement. So always be inspired. Right. Thank you so much. That's it from me today. Now I'm open to all your questions, and this is our website and our contact details if you wish to do so in future with us. So I'm open to all the questions now, please. You can open your mic or you can type in the chat box, and I request the moderator to read it out to me, please. Thank you.
Yes, we have some questions if the presentation will be available. So this presentation was recorded and will be available on YouTube within 24 hours.
Hi, I have a question.
Please
Hi,
go ahead.
Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Kathy. Is that you?
It is. How are you?
Welcome. Yes,
Good.
please go ahead.
I've
Nice to
got
hear
a
you.
I've got a question.
Please.
I love the digital storytelling,
Yes.
and I'm wondering if you have a suggestion or suggestions for programs the students can use to put together their digital stories.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. And I would love to hear from you. It's been ages I haven't heard from you.
Yes.
Right, Kathy. There were lots of digital tools that my students use. One of them was Canva. That was very user friendly, and they were able to edit their videos there. And they also did this.
Maria, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? Can you spell it for us also?
Yes, Canvas, Canva.
Okay.
And
Yep.
there are so many other effective tools that they even created a simple PowerPoint presentation and the screen recorded by putting it on the automated Pechakucha system like I shared with you earlier. So the students love it. And I think Yusuf is saying there is something that cumbersome that again has something very effective that can be used in the classrooms.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Anything else? Anybody else would like to ask a question or comment or share your thoughts about digital literacy? Please feel free to do so now. You can unmute your mic and ask me directly.
It seems you had presented a really good presentation, Ms. Maria, not many questions. We've got
I
some
guess.
thank yous for your presentation. It was very
We are open to
informative.
any comments, any ideas that you would like to share with us. Please feel free to do so now.
Just to let everyone know, we've also shared the attendance link in the chat box. If you would like a certificate, you can please fill that out and you'll have that soon.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for joining in. Thank you, everybody, for joining in today. I'm open to any suggestions or comments. Thank you, Maha. Thank you for joining in today. Please keep a lookout on our future events as well. And we have podcasts that comes every fortnight. Thank you, Anupura, for joining us. Thank you, Amina. You're most welcome, all of you. Most welcome for joining us today. I think that has come to an end of a session today.
Thank you, Ms. Maria, for presenting today, and thank you to all the attendees who attended and engaged with us.
My pleasure. We look forward to see you all in a future webinars. Bye for now. Yes, all our recording goes on our website as well as on our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to see this presentation and past presentations as well.